You chose the real father for the spotlight. Then let the real father pay behind the scenes.
My name's Gary. I'm 48, and I've been married to Rachel, of 44 for 15 years. She has twins, Kyle and Megan, now 18, from her ex, Carl. He bailed when they were about 3. Since then, I've been the one who raised them. Every scraped knee, school meltdown, dentist trip, birthday, and big milestone happened with me there, while their real dad was nowhere in sight. Carl's version of fatherhood? He tossed in his DNA and a few random child support checks that quit showing up after 5 years. He once pawned Megan's bike for gas money when she was 10. His birthday cards, if they came, showed up late. At best, he appeared twice a year, throwing out big promises that never stuck. When Kyle landed in the ER with a scary asthma attack in 2nd grade, I slept in that awful plastic chair 3 nights straight. When Megan lost her math binder the night before finals, I drove around to 3 Targets at midnight until I found one. And Carl? He was probably drunk on someone's couch. I worked myself raw to put together a $200K college fund, every bonus, every overtime shift, every tax return for years. I never missed a school play, a soccer game, a science fair. I carved Kyle's first Pinewood Derby car using a broken Dremel and a YouTube tutorial. I stayed up rebuilding Megan's volcano when it collapsed, painting it neon pink because that's what she wanted. I've cleaned peanut butter out of Kyle's Ninja Turtles lunchbox more times than I want to count. In every way that counted, I was their dad. Then graduation day arrived. Both kids stood as valedictorians, each with a full ride to Hudson State University. I sat in the back row of that sweltering gym, shirt sticking to my back, chest tight with pride, waiting for their speeches. Kyle stepped to the podium first, adjusting the mic, clearing his throat. I thought, this is it. 15 years of sacrifice, all about to be honored in his words. Kyle doesn't even look at me. Instead, he stares right past my row and locks on Carl, sitting closer to the stage. Then he says into the mic, "We'd like to thank the man who gave us life. Our real dad, not just the one who paid the bills." The words drop heavy, wrapping around my throat like a rope. Megan nods fast, grinning like she's on stage at a beauty contest, tassel bouncing as she beams right at Carl. 1,000 heads in that gym turn my way, while Carl stands up and soaks in the applause like he was there for every scraped knee and every late-night math problem. Rachel doesn't twitch, doesn't turn, doesn't meet my eyes. She just keeps that fixed smile plastered on her face, shiny and lifeless, like makeup over stone. I don't move either. No stomping out, no angry scene, just me locked tight in my chair while strangers crane their necks to get a look at the guy who only paid the bills. A woman in a blue hat leans to her husband and whispers, "Isn't that their stepdad?" He squints at me like I'm some random man who wandered in for free cake. After the speeches, the real cut begins. Everyone pushes toward the stairs for photos. Rachel stands between the twins, arms tight around them, smiling like she didn't just watch me get gutted in public. Then Carl steps in, slides into the family photo like he belongs. Someone tosses him a spare cap, and he flips it to Kyle, laughing. "Put it on, Dad." As though this is a sweet sitcom scene they'll all look back on forever. Nobody calls for me. Nobody waves me over. I don't even try. I'm a ghost at my own wake. Later, the party moves to our house. The smell of rotisserie chicken and sangria fills the rooms, laughter rolling through the halls like sprayed cologne. Carl holds court in the kitchen, belly pressing his too small shirt, gold chain flashing as he brags about his kids to anyone who will listen. Rachel keeps that high-pitched laugh going, the one she used to save for me on my birthday, topping off his drink again and again. Out back, the twins pose with friends, taking Instagram shots under the banner I taped up this morning. Congratulations, Kyle and Megan, class of 2025. I was standing near the gift table when Kyle tore open my card. Inside was a note I'd written about how proud I was, along with a check big enough to cover his first semester costs. He skimmed it, gave the money a quick glance, and shrugged. "Thanks," he muttered, shoving it back into the envelope like junk mail before dropping it beside a half-eaten cupcake. Megan didn't even touch hers. I doubt she noticed it came from me. Right then, watching years of effort get brushed off like lint, something inside me shifted. Not rage, clarity. They'd already cut me out of their story. I was just background scenery they forgot to haul off stage. That night I went to our room, opened the closet, and reached for the safe on the top shelf. 6 numbers later, I pulled out a thick envelope stuffed with checks from the college fund. Every slip of paper was sacrifice. Missed dinners out, home repairs pushed off, driving my beat-up truck years too long. Every tax return, every overtime shift, every bonus check had gone toward their future. And for what? So they could tell a crowd I was nothing but a wallet with legs? Here's where some might call me the bad guy. I didn't rant, didn't threaten. I made a plan. Next morning, I took a personal day, put on my best shirt, and drove across town to my lawyer's office. Mr. Greer, sharp as a blade, looked like the kind of man who played chess with judges for fun. I slid the envelope across his desk and laid out my idea. He raised an eyebrow and asked if I was serious. I'd been serious the moment they thanked a man who never bought them a single pencil. We set up a trust fund. Not for Kyle, not for Megan, for Sarah, Rachel's 19-year-old niece. Sarah was quiet, the one Rachel brushed off as too serious and awkward, which in Rachel speak meant she had no interest in brunches, Botox, or betrayal. Sarah worked nights at a grocery store and cleaned offices on weekends. Her mom once told me she dreamed of becoming a vet, but college seemed out of reach after her dad split and her mom got sick with cancer. I hadn't seen Sarah in a couple of years, but I remembered her from Christmas Eve. She was the only one who brought homemade cookies and the only one who helped clean up while Kyle sat in the recliner with his Xbox, pretending she didn't exist. She was also the only person that night who asked if I needed help carrying stuff to the car. So I picked up the phone. She answered on the third ring, out of breath from rushing between jobs. "Sorry, I'm on break. Everything okay?" she asked. "Depends," I said. "You still want to go to college?" She chuckled, thinking it was a joke, until I explained I wasn't kidding. Silence. Then, "For real?" I told her I couldn't cover everything forever, but I could start her off. Full tuition, books, housing, and enough extra to breathe. "You've earned it," I told her. She didn't cry right away. She just whispered, "Why me?" My answer was simple. Because you never asked, and that's exactly why. It only took 2 days to finish the papers. I pulled every dollar from that college fund, shifted it to a private account, then locked it into the trust under Sarah's name. No links to Rachel, no ties to the Matthews family. She'd need a court order just to trace it. All neat, all legal, all airtight. Back at the house, their dream world rolled on like nothing had changed. I saw the group texts pop up on the family iPad, Megan swapping photos of dorm decor, Kyle bragging about what gaming rig he'd hauled to campus, Rachel chirping about turning Megan's room into her yoga studio. They planned everything. The move-in date, sheet colors, even where Kyle's pet lizard would live. Not once did anyone think to check the accounts. Why would they? Years of habit had taught them the money fairy, that is, me, always showed up with the checkbook and the safety net. 2 weeks later, the real world came knocking. Rachel was in the kitchen when the first email hit. Hudson State's cheerful subject line, "Deposit not received, action required." She read it twice, her face twisting into that baffled little smirk she wears whenever life dares to cross her. She tried the school first, then me. I was in my truck on lunch break, peeling back the wrapper on a turkey sandwich when the phone lit up. "You didn't send the deposit," she blurted. "Hudson State, dorm fees, Kyle's housing, they're saying it bounced." I took a slow bite, chewed, swallowed. "Huh," I said. "I'll check on it." Long silence. "Check on it?" "Yeah, probably just a glitch." Another pause. "Gary, are you okay?" I grinned to myself. "Better than ever." And I hung up. That night, Megan sat at the kitchen table with books spread out, eyes on her phone more than the pages, clearly tuned in to Rachel's frantic calls with the financial aid office. Finally, she asked, "So, the money's not there?" Rachel waved a hand like she was swatting a fly. "It's a glitch. Your dad overcomplicates things." "Stepdad," Megan corrected without missing a beat. Kyle, stretched across the couch with TikTok glowing in his face, muttered, "He won't do anything. Too soft. Remember when he cried watching Finding Nemo?" They both laughed, but the sound carried less confidence than usual. By sunrise, new emails arrived. Kyle's student ID locked, Megan's orientation packet canceled, both officially unenrolled for non-payment. By midday, my phone buzzed nonstop with Rachel's texts. By mid-afternoon, she was at my door, pounding like a debt collector. I answered slow, coffee in hand. She barreled past me, eyes blazing. "They said the tuition never went through," she snapped. "Megan was bawling in the hallway. Kyle couldn't even get a dorm key." I nodded, calm as ever. "Rough day." "What the hell did you do, Gary?" she demanded. "Me?" I walked to the kitchen, pulled open a drawer, and set down a folded withdrawal slip. Date, the day after graduation. Balance, 0. I thought I was just the guy who paid the bills. She stared at the paper like it was written in another language. "You can't be serious," she whispered. "You all made it crystal clear," I said, leaning on the counter. "You wanted the real dad to get the speeches, the photos, the credit, so I figured he could handle the bills too." "But this isn't the same," she fired back. "This is their future." "And they already decided who should get the credit for that future," I replied. Tires crunched on the driveway, and a moment later the twins stormed inside like the place was burning down. "What the hell, Gary?" Kyle barked. "They told me I don't even have a student ID." I turned slow, met both their eyes. "Sounds like something your real dad should handle." Megan's face was streaked from tears. "Why would you do this to us?" she choked out. I raised a brow. "You mean after you stood on stage saying I was just the guy who paid the bills? Well, I quit paying." They froze, stunned. Not furious, not loud, just stunned, like I'd told them the sky had stopped being blue. Rachel collapsed onto the couch, buried her face in her hands. "What are we supposed to do now?" she groaned. I walked to the front door, opened it wide, and spoke low. "Figure it out. For once in your lives, you'll actually have to." 3 weeks later came Aunt Linda's family barbecue. I debated skipping, but curiosity won. I wanted to watch this story unfold with an audience. I showed up early, claimed a chair near the edge of the yard, sipping iced tea while the heavy summer air clung to my shirt. By mid-afternoon, the yard buzzed with cousins, kids darting through sprinklers, the usual backyard noise. Carl rolled in wearing a backwards cap, already clutching his second beer, working overtime to act like Kyle and Megan's best buddy, as if they were frat brothers, not the children he'd ditched. Rachel arrived last, swaying in a bright yellow sundress, the kind she once wore to church picnics when she thought she could dress herself into happiness. She went around hugging and laughing, her voice too high, her smile too wide. To anyone paying attention, the cracks were obvious. The spark hit when Uncle Dave casually asked Kyle how college was going. Kyle froze, eyes darting to Rachel. She forced out a laugh, too loud, and said, "We're just sorting out a few paperwork issues." But when a cousin pressed Megan about her major, Rachel's mask finally cracked. "We would have picked majors by now," she snapped, "if someone hadn't blown up everything we worked toward." The backyard went still. Even the grill hiss cut out. Aunt Linda paused mid-scoop of potato salad. Rachel spun toward me like a missile-locking target. "He drained it," she told the whole yard. "Every dime. The entire fund. Just emptied it out to be cruel." Carl squinted from his chair. "Wait, what's she talking about?" Rachel stomped to the center of the grass like she was taking the spotlight. "Gary pulled every cent the day after graduation. After 15 years of us welcoming him in. After everything we gave him." I didn't answer, just lifted my glass of iced tea in a quiet salute. The silence was heavy. Forks froze. Talk died. Everyone stared. People shifted in their seats, letting it sink in. Then Aunt Linda cleared her throat. "Rachel, weren't you the one who posted that graduation clip, where the kids thanked Carl instead of Gary?" Rachel went pale. "That was their idea." "I saw it too," someone else cut in. "Looked like you were clapping along." Rachel's face burned crimson. "That's not what I meant. This isn't how—" I finally spoke, voice even. "I just stopped paying the bills like I was told." Kyle, red-faced, cracked under the weight. "We didn't mean it like that. It was just graduation. It didn't mean anything." I lifted my glass again. "You said what you meant." The yard buzzed with whispers. Cousin Brittany leaned into her boyfriend's ear. Uncle Dave shook his head. Carl looked ready to sink into the grass. Rachel, shaking now, hissed at me. "You're humiliating me." I leaned back, crossed my legs, and spoke low. "I'm just sitting here, Rachel. Haven't raised my voice once." She looked around desperately for backup, but found only a wall of averted gazes. People suddenly became very interested in their deviled eggs and potato chips. The quiet judgment was louder than any screaming match could have been. I finished my tea, stood up, and nodded politely to Aunt Linda. "Thanks for the invitation. Always a pleasure." With that, I left Rachel standing in the middle of the backyard, clutching her plastic cup, surrounded by family she thought would automatically take her side. Turns out loyalty follows truth, not bloodlines. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Within a week, Sarah's mom posted a simple Facebook update with a photo of her daughter in her new dorm room, holding a box of veterinary textbooks, wearing that quiet, stunned smile that only comes from getting something you never thought you'd have. The caption read, "My daughter just got a second chance, not because of luck, not because someone had to, but because someone chose to. Thank you, Gary. You owed her nothing. but you gave her everything. That post went viral in our small town. Not celebrity viral, small town viral. Hundreds of shares, dozens of comments from teachers, neighbors, church friends. Sarah deserves this. That's real fatherhood. I remember Gary at every band recital those kids had. The validation was overwhelming, but also bittersweet. Rachel saw it and completely fell apart. She showed up at my workplace the next morning, unannounced, red-eyed, makeup half done like she'd given up halfway through getting ready. I was on break in the loading dock when I saw her car pull up the wrong way, hazard lights flashing. She stumbled out in heels that clearly betrayed her. "Gary," she called, already crying. "Please, can we talk? Just for a minute?" I said nothing, just kept walking toward the building. She followed me, voice breaking. "They're your kids too. We made a mistake. We didn't mean it." I stopped at the security door, badged in, and let it close gently between us. Through the reinforced glass, I watched her sink to the pavement, hands shaking, mascara bleeding down her face. That night, she was waiting outside my apartment door on her knees, purse spilled everywhere. Keys, gum wrappers, CVS anxiety pills rolling across the tile floor. She wasn't just crying. She was sobbing with her whole body. "Gary, please," she whispered. "Look at me. I'll fix it. I'll make them apologize. Just don't walk away from us." Neighbors were peering out of their doors, then quietly closing them again. This wasn't a private moment anymore. It was performance art, and I was done being part of her show. I stepped carefully around her so she wouldn't think I was helping her up, unlocked my door, and paused just long enough to meet her eyes. Not with anger, but with complete indifference. The kind you earn through years of being taken for granted. Then I shut the door quietly. No slam, no final speech. Just silence and the sound of someone finally realizing they never had a safety net. Only a man they'd mistaken for one. The bank appointment with Sarah was scheduled for the following Friday. She sat beside me in that quiet, air-conditioned lobby, wearing a thrift store blazer with the tag still tucked into the sleeve, hair straightened for the occasion. Her hands were shaking as she signed the final paperwork releasing the trust funds. "Mr. Matthews," the banker said with a professional smile, "we're all set. Just need your signature here." I passed the folder to Sarah without hesitation. She looked at me once more, like she was still waiting for the catch. "There's no trap," I assured her. "You earned this." Her signature was careful, deliberate. "Lucky girl," the teller commented. I shook my head. No, just someone who never forgot who showed up when it mattered. We walked out into the golden afternoon light together. Sarah hugged me tight. Not the performative kind of hug you give for social media, but that breathless, full-body embrace you only share once in a lifetime. No words needed. She got into her rideshare to head back to campus, back to her classes, back to a future that nobody handed her, but she grabbed with both hands when someone finally opened the gate. I took the long way home, making one final detour past the old house. It hadn't changed much from the outside. Same brick facade, same cracked driveway, but there was a large white "for sale" sign, wobbling slightly in the evening breeze. The garage door was open, half filled with cardboard boxes and the detritus of a life being dismantled. Kyle was dragging a suitcase across the brown lawn, while Megan struggled with a flat-screen TV, both of them avoiding eye contact with each other and the world. Rachel was sitting on the front porch in a plastic lawn chair, ankles crossed, sunglasses on despite the sun disappearing behind the trees. She saw my truck approach. She knew I'd see them packing up the remnants of their old life. This wasn't a trap or a performance piece. It was just the end of the story, playing out exactly as it had to. I didn't slow down, didn't roll down my window, didn't wave or flip them off. I just drove past the house where I'd spent 15 years making packed lunches and fixing leaky faucets, and helping with algebra homework, and pretending that unconditional love always comes back to you. It doesn't, but sometimes it finds somewhere better to land. In my rearview mirror, there was nothing worth looking back at. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was discovering how calmly I could let go once I realized they'd never really wanted me to stay. Sometimes the deepest power comes from silence, from walking away without needing to explain yourself or have the last word. People who take you for granted never expect you to stop showing up. But when you do, that's when they finally understand the true cost of their choices. Kyle and Megan learned that actions have consequences, and that real fathers don't just materialize for photo opportunities. Carl disappeared again the moment financial responsibility entered the picture, proving once more that DNA doesn't make you a parent. Rachel discovered that 15 years of taking someone for granted doesn't entitle you to another 15 years of the same treatment. And Sarah? Sarah's thriving at veterinary school. Dean's List her first semester, sending me pictures of her lab work and updates about her classes. She understands what I learned too late. Gratitude isn't automatic, respect isn't inherited, and love that's conditional on convenience isn't love at all. So Reddit, AITA, for teaching them that appreciation isn't optional, and that being a real parent means more than just showing up for the applause? Or should I have swallowed my pride, ignored their public humiliation, and kept writing checks for kids who called someone else real? The money was legally mine, contributed from my personal accounts over 5 years. No theft, no fraud, just consequences meeting choices. Some say I went nuclear over teenage stupidity, but they're 18-year-old adults who made a calculated decision in front of 1,000 witnesses. They got exactly what they asked for. Their real dad's financial support. For those who want to ask me about legal issues, I consulted with an attorney before moving any money. Everything was above board and documented. For those calling me petty, maybe I am. But after 15 years of being taken for granted, I decided my energy was better invested in someone who valued it. Update. Sarah made Dean's List again this semester and just got accepted into the veterinary program she's been dreaming about. She sends me photos of her textbooks and lab assignments like a proud daughter would. Meanwhile, Kyle's working at GameStop and Megan's at Target, both taking community college classes part-time. Rachel moved in with her sister. Carl's still nowhere to be found. Life has a funny way of sorting itself out when people finally have to face the consequences of their choices.